Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, I'm Shakeena Melbourne, a Detroit attorney with over 11 years of experience. And today I'm diving into a topic that can truly change lives. Expungement. I know a lot of people have questions about it, and whether you're in Detroit or anywhere in the Metro Detroit area, I'm here to help you understand how expungement works and what it can mean for you going forward. Now, a lot of times we hear the word or the phrase expungement, but what does it mean? Honestly, expungement is, in the law, they use a lot of words from different languages, Latin, Hebrew, all kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So basically, if we were to translate expungement, what it means to get rid of a criminal record, right? And so you could get rid of a criminal record that you receive that's either a felony or a misdemeanor, but those are based primarily on the state that you are in when you got convicted. Federally, expungements don't exist. They are called pardons instead on the federal side, and usually only the President of the United States can pardon you in a federal case. On a state case, state felony, state prison, state jail, misdemeanor, or no jail time at all.
Several days later.
So I'm back. I had a client come in. Don't judge me in my change of outfit because it depends on who the client is how I'm gonna get dressed. So boop. Anyway, now back to the story at hand. Governor Whitmer came out with a law called the Clean Slate in April of 2021. And as part of that process, it had some specific rules and regulations about how someone can get a record expunged in the state of Michigan. Meaning the crime took place in the state of Michigan and we're trying to get it wiped away in the state of Michigan. And so some of those crimes were things like, believe it or not, most women in Michigan that I've seen typically have a record for stealing from Target, okay? And so, for example, stealing from Target is something that can be expunged because depending on how much of the property value of what was stolen, to less than $200, over $200, it will be deemed to be either a misdemeanor or a felony. Both of these things can be expunged today under the new Clean Slate law. We have things like common things for men in Michigan is walking around with a concealed weapon.
It's a gun in this bag.
Whether it's licensed, unlicensed, registered, unregistered, because you know people be out here. That could be a felony, CCW. That is a common crime for men in the state of Michigan. This is a crime that too is now eligible to be able to be expunged. But the interesting part that I've found for expungements is these new laws that came out based on, when I was growing up, it was called marijuana. The law says it's called cannabis, so I don't, it looked the same, but only in America they changed the names. So, because the state of Michigan has legalized marijuana, marijuana can now be, any marijuana felonies or misdemeanors can now be expunged. What also can be expunged is certain other drug offenses. So if it's not an offense for delivery or for sale, for example, there is a certain amount of grams per other drug. So some people call it heroin, some people call it heroin. You see what I'm saying? It's a lot of these different words. But anyway, that can now be expunged. Crack cocaine can be expunged. But remember, these are records that must be crimes where you were prosecuted by the county prosecutor, not federal crimes. Follow me? Later on, after 2021, we got some new laws that came out of Clean Slate. So you have the ability now to expunge your first DUI. If you only got one DUI, you can get that expunged. Because I learned that very early too, that if you have 2 or 3 DUIs, it doesn't mean only your first one get expunged. It means you can't get none of them expunged. You can only have one. DUI is driving under the influence, drinking, and driving under the influence, right? Then you have OWI, operating while intoxicated. So my friends, being high, under, heroin, cocaine, cannabis/marijuana. These are all rules, or even, you know what? Ambient. If you were driving under medical medication that says you're not supposed to drive, it may cause drowsiness. These are also ways to get an OWI. So with the expungement record, you can now get an OWI expunged. What can't be expunged is things such as manslaughter, murder, things that take over 10 years or more of a life sentence, armed robbery. These are some of the examples. But there's also another piece of Clean Slate that came out recently towards the end of 2023 into 2024, which is this automation process. So there's certain records that will automatically be removed from someone's personal record. And most of those are usually marijuana offenses. I know some people have been able to see those automatic changes take place, but I also know some have not. So keep that in mind. Depends on how many years ago it was, but some of them are going to get expunged automatically without you having to file an actual expungement application or motion. Right. So here's one of the coolest parts of the Clean Slate law. Cool to me being that I like to help people with expungements, and I like to see the progress of their future life, be able to go to school, probably getting some federal grants, or not necessarily federal grants, but any kind of business grants, being able to get FAFSA. These are things that are permitted after getting expunged, right? One of the biggest things that came out of the Clean Slate, though, is something where you can get called one bad night. That is actually the way it's phrased in the law or the statute. One bad night. So what that means is one night I go, because I ain't gonna tell nobody business. I go, case study, to the club. Somebody tried to jump me. I find out who jumped me, and let's say it was like 5 or 6 people, and I damage several of their properties. So I hit their cars, I assault someone and get into a fight. I also have a weapon on me, and I had some drugs in the car. All this happens one night. The prosecutor's office will then charge me with all of those things in one case based on one day of events. One bad night. Well, with these new expungement law, we are now able to take one expungement application or motion and get rid of all of the felonies and or misdemeanors that took place on one night. So imagine, in the past, before a Clean Slate, you could only have one felony to even do an expungement. Now they're saying, well, with the one bad night, if you had 10 felonies happen on one night, you can get all 10 of them expunged at one time. Can you imagine that? That record was hurting you and harming you for years, and now one day, all of it is able to be gone away. And believe it or not, that law was based off of a young lady that helped create the statute for Clean Slate because she had a situation where she had one bad night and had a whole bunch of felonies. And it worked. I've had multiple clients be able to get off on different criminal records that occurred on one bad night. So it works.